Okay, yep, that's right. Great and glorious to be famous one day. Nick Dutch here yet again. Continuing on our little series on pseudoscience now, because this is all part of the discussion as to what science is, the fact that the occult can be analysed as a science, and trying to work out what is pseudoscience and what is not pseudoscience. And so far, the argument for the existence of pseudoscience has proven very weak indeed. In fact, almost non-existent. But we're getting this information from Wikipedia, so it's important if we're going to try and find out what people, in inverted commas, think about pseudoscience, or think what pseudoscience is, to use this as an important reference source or reference tool so that we can understand the concepts. Okay, the article goes on. Identifying pseudoscience. Sorry, my throat's about to go. A field, practice, or body of knowledge might reasonably be called pseudoscientific when, number one, it is presented as consistent with the accepted norms of scientific research, but two, demonstrably fails to meet these norms, most importantly the misuse of scientific method. But as we've already discussed, the scientific method is rather fluid, and it does vary from school of thought to school of thought. So the first sentence of the identifying pseudoscience bits here on Wikipedia falls short, and you could even say that is pseudoscientific too. Subjects may be considered pseudoscientific for various reasons. Karl Popper considers astrology to be pseudoscientific simply because astrologers keep their claims so vague that they could never be refuted. So if your claims are vague, they can be refuted. Whereas Paul R. Thagard considers astrology pseudoscientific because its practitioners make little efforts to develop the theory, show no concern for attempts to critically evaluate the theory in relation to others, and are selective in considering evidence. So essentially, so long as we can spend a bit of time developing a theory and show some concern for attempts to critically evaluate the theory in relation to others, then we're being scientific, which is what I want to do. And of course, in not being selective in considering other forms of evidence, which is also, you know, I want to be scientific, so this is what I'm going to try and do. More generally, Thagard stated that pseudoscience tends to focus on resemblances rather than cause-effect relations. Well, psychoanalysis deals with resemblances between ideas, and for instance, in dream analysis, there are resemblances between a jewel case and genitalia by certain understandings, or by the roof of a house and your head in certain forms of dream-type experiences. But that is still a school of science. And also, science does deal with resemblances. Evolutionary science deals with resemblances between bone structures in fossils, but that's a science. So we still have all these little examples of the natural sciences being pseudoscientific, and the term pseudoscience being too vague to be useful. Science is also distinguishable from revelation, theology, or spirituality, in as it claims to offer insight into the physical world not obtained by scientific means. But that's hokum if you're actually trying to use the scientific methodology, the scientific method, to understand what the revelation is, or what the results of spiritual exercises in your spirituality will be. Now, theology, that would be, I would say, regarded as pseudoscience, because it's essentially just it's a hypothesis without any further investigation. Okay, so yeah, I could say that theology is a pseudoscience, but there's aspects of theology which are used in the occult, and you can make it up as you go along with a certain degree. I think I probably covered that in a previous video. If I haven't, I'll probably try and cover that in a future video. Alright. For this reason, both creation science and intelligent design have been labeled as pseudoscience by the mainstream scientific community. I would say that intelligent design and creation science are not pseudosciences. They are in fact out and out lies, because they go against what has been discovered through the use of the scientific method. So we can't even use the word pseudoscientific if they haven't applied the scientific method properly, and of course they haven't. The most notable disputes concerning the effects of evolution on the development of living organisms and an idea of common descent, geologic history of the Earth, the formation of the solar system, and the origin of the universe. Systems of belief that derive from divine or inspired knowledge are not considered pseudoscientific if they do not claim either to be scientific nor to overturn well-established science. So according to that, if you're not claiming to be scientific, then you're not pseudoscientific. But there are aspects of regular science which could be regarded as being pseudoscientific. If pseudoscience is being harmful to someone, and your life sciences involves experimenting on a soldier using nerve gas, that's dangerous to the individual, and that would come under the category of pseudoscience. And that is well-established science, but it's also pseudoscience. Still very woolly. Some statements and commonly held beliefs in popular science may not meet the criteria of science. Pop science may blur the divide between science and pseudoscience among the general public, and may also involve science fiction. Indeed, pop science is disseminated to and can also easily emanate from persons not accountable to scientific methodology and expert peer review. So, if the experts don't peer review your experiment, you can be debunked or labeled as a pseudoscientist, despite the fact you're following the scientific method, and the life sciences follow the pseudoscientific method. And the experts won't necessarily do the peer review on your work, because they may be attacked, and as we've understood from the analysis of the school of positivistic thoughts, there is a bias in the scientific community against the metaphysical, which places us, the occultists, in a catch-22 situation. Okay, once again I'm stopping the video and I'll start again shortly. Give us a minute.